It was Paul Halmos who said, "The only way to learn mathematics is to do mathematics." Hello boys and girls, my name is Miss Aliyah Brewster and it's time for us to do grade 5 mathematics. So grab a pencil and a notepad, get settled because we're about to start. Are you ready? Because I'm ready. Let's begin. I always like to start each lesson with a warm-up exercise. For today's activity, we'll recite the 8 times table. Let's begin. 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times 7 is 56. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 9 is 72. 8 times 10 is 80. 8 times 11 is 88, while 8 times 12 is 96. Let's move on to another activity. For this activity, we have to help the newborn to find his way out of the number maze by shading the path counting in 8s up to 80. Let's begin. We start with 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64, 72, 80. So there you have it. We would have helped the newborn to find his way out of the number maze by counting in groups of 8 until we reach 80. Thank you. Let's move on to another warm-up exercise activity. For this activity, we're tasked to match the multiplication fact to the correct repeated addition facts. It's very simple. The first one was done for you. We have 8 times 3, and 8 times 3 is similar to 8 plus 8 plus 8. In fact, if we multiply 8 by 3, the sum of that multiplication will be the same for the sum of 8 plus 8 plus 8. Let's match the rest of the multiplication facts to the repeated additional facts. For 8 times 6, we match 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. So that's the sum of 8 6 times. And you can see that matching being done with a green line. If you look at the third multiplication fact, which is 8 times 2, we match that fact to 8 plus 8 because 8 times 2, which is 16, is equivalent to 8 plus 8, which is also 16. If you look at the fourth problem, you'd notice that it's 8 times 7, and we match that to the additional fact, which is the sum of 8 7 times. Okay, so we have 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. Okay, now if you look at the fifth multiplication fact, you would notice that we're asked to match 8 times 5. Of course, we'll match that. So the sum of 8 5 times. And you can see that being done there with the blue line. As you can see, for the final multiplication fact, which is 8 times 4, we match that to the sum of 8 4 times. And that is being done with the pink line. Thank you for participating in today's warm-up exercise. Now we'll move on to discussing ratio. You may wonder, what is ratio? How do we calculate ratio? And what does ratio even have to do with mathematics? To answer these questions, we'll examine a scenario. Think, you're having a party. And what party is complete without cupcakes? So you decide that you're going to make your own. You invited 10 friends to the party, so you have to make 10 cupcakes. Your mom gives you a recipe that includes 2 cups of flour and 1 cup of milk. However, that recipe makes only 5 cupcakes, but you need to make 10. Your mom suggests that you use a ratio to solve this problem. But what is a ratio? A ratio compares one thing to another thing. The ratio for your recipe compares flour to milk. For every 2 cups of flour you use, you will need to use 1 cup of milk. There are several different ways that you can show this ratio. It can be written with a colon, 2 colon, and then the numeral 1. Or it can be written in a word form, which is 2 to 1. Or it can be written as a fraction, which is 2 above 1. But all of these different ways of writing ratio means the same thing. It's showing that 2 cups of flour must be used to 1 cup of milk. Now we'll move on to increasing ratio. Listen to this scenario. In the birthday party scenario that we discussed before, Mother's recipe can only make 5 cupcakes, but we need to make 10 cupcakes. The recipe for 5 cupcakes includes 2 cups of flour and 1 cup of milk. The ratio is 2 to 1. However, in order to go from making 5 to 10 cupcakes, we must multiply by 2. Therefore, our ratio will change too. So instead of using 2 cups of flour and 1 cup of milk, we will use 4 cups of flour and 2 cups of milk. In other words, we multiply both numbers 2 and 1 by 2. On the screen, you would notice there are 2 images to help you understand better how increasing ratio works. Here we have 5 cupcakes, and we know in order to make 5 cupcakes, we use 2 cups of flour and 1 cup of milk. However, we need to make 10 cupcakes. Therefore, we multiply that ratio by 2. So if we multiply 2 by 2, we'll get 4. If we multiply 1 by 2, we'll get 2. In other words, to make 10 cupcakes, we're required to use 4 cups of flour and 2 cups of milk. Okay, boys and girls, we just finished discussing increasing ratio. Now it's time for us to move on to decreasing ratio. To understand decreasing ratio better, we'll examine a scenario. Suppose you would like to make an apple pie. But to make this apple pie, you need 20 apples and 4 cups of sugar. While shopping, you realize that you can only afford to purchase 10 apples. How many cups of sugar would you use with just 10 apples? If you look closely, you would notice that the recipe called for 20 apples to 4 cups of sugar. However, you can only afford to purchase 10 apples. How many cups of sugar would you use then? In order to calculate how many cups of sugar we can use, we'll decrease the ratio. And to decrease the ratio, we'll divide. How will we divide? If we're moving from 20 to 10, we divide by 2 because 2 10s equal 20. And if we're going to decrease from 20 apples to 10 apples, we'll divide both numbers, 20 and 4, by 2. So if we're to divide 20 by 2, of course, we'll get 10. If we're to divide 4 by 2, we'll get 2. Therefore, our new recipe to make an apple pie with only 10 apples will mean we use 10 apples and 2 cups of sugar. Thank you for tuning in to today's lesson. I do hope that you would have enjoyed our discussion on ratio. Our study time is over now, but that does not mean that your study time has to be over. Remember, the only way to learn mathematics is to do mathematics. This means that you must continue to practice if you would like to be successful at your upcoming exams. Once again, thank you for tuning in and goodbye.